Hi folks, Toad Hancock's here with Visordown.com, and we've been cruising around the Chiltern Hills today on this, which has brought a massive smile to my face. This is Ducati's V4S Panigale. So this is an 1103cc. It's loads of fun. It's a little bit scary. See for yourself, here's some riding footage. So there you are, and I do know before you say it, it always looks slower on film. So let's go into the bike a little bit, into the engine. So we've got an 1103cc V4 in this, which is a bit of a departure for Ducati. They haven't looked at the V4 since way back the Desma Sedici, back in the early 2000s, late 1990s. What's special about this engine is it's got a counter-rotating crankshaft. So the crankshaft within the engine is spinning in such a way that it's supposed to make the bike turn better and sort of help counter wheelies and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, I'm a fairly fast road rider, but I'm not a fast track rider, and I think to really be able to feel the little nuances of that counter-rotating crankshaft, you're going to have to go on track, and you're going to have bigger bollocks than me and a hell of a lot more skill than me, and then you might feel a little thing, but it's a nice touch, and it proves that they are looking to make this the statement piece in the performance motorcycle market. So yeah, I'm all for it. Literally cannot feed it gears quick enough. You crack the throttle fully open, and with the Ducati wheelie control, the front wheel will hover a couple of inches above the tarmac, and your foot cannot change gear quick enough. This thing just gobbles up gears. Before you know it, you'll be doing 170 miles an hour in top gear. It is literally amazing. It's got 124 Newton meters of torque, which is 91 foot-pounds, so it is a torquey beast, and that comes in at about 10,000 RPM. But just from riding it today on the sort of B roads and back roads that we've been blasting up and down, you can feel that the spread of torque is really, really wide. It almost feels like you're getting the same amount of torque at about 2,500, 3,000 RPM as you are at 10,000 or 11,000 RPM. And it never really seems to run out of breath. It doesn't leave you wanting anything more. I never thought, oh God, this could do with revving to 13,000, because it is ludicrously quick. The engine is an absolute peach, if a little bit of a nutcase as well. Starting with the suspension, it is a masterpiece because it just does such a good job. It's fully adjustable electronic Olin suspension, which is completely dynamic, as Ducati call it, or active as you and me know it. The front and rear suspension work together. It's fully adjustable, like I said, so you can go into the little menus on the dashboard and you can tune it. It's a very similar interface to Ducati's 1260 Multistrada or the new 950 Multistrada if you've ridden those. So you get a nice clear pictogram of the bike, and you can sort of pump the preload up in the front suspension or the rear suspension, and if you need braking support, you can kind of like just tune it to how you want it. You can choose the preset riding modes, and that will automatically adjust the suspension. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter if you leave this bike in normal street mode, which is supposedly the most sort of softest mode. It is still an absolute weapon. The best thing that I can say about the suspension is it does not feel like a superbike. It's so plush, and yeah, it's not going to be as plush as a tourer or a sort of a big commuter bike, but for a superbike, it doesn't jar you. You never feel like you never feel uncomfortable. You can hit speed bumps, potholes, manhole covers, drains, and it just soaks it all up. It is a really, really plush thing to ride. So we've spoken about the suspension, let's talk about how this thing handles. Like I said earlier, not being an absolute Andrea Dovizioso on the road means you're never going to get 80% out of this thing because it is that good. But what I can say about the handling is To move the bike across the road from one side to the other, or from an apex to an apex, is not, there's no physical exertion involved in it. It's more an act of telepathy. You look where you want to go, you think about it, and the bike just takes you there. It's really, it's not light, it's 200 kilograms, but the mass is so centralised on it, and it's got to be something to do with the counter-rotating crankshaft that it just feels supremely flickable. You're running on Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa SPs, so they just heat up by the end of your road. I rode home from town in the pissing rain the other day, and by the time I'd got home, and I did a maximum of about 40 miles an hour, there was steam coming off them. So they're absolutely phenomenal tyres, phenomenal brakes. You've got such a fantastic chassis design with the front frame that Ducati have come up with, using the engine as a stress member. It just feels like an absolute experience when you ride it down the road. And if you want to, you can. This thing will take you as fast as you want to go, right up until that point that you lose your license, and that's the only thing that worries me about it. So onto the braking system. So we've got Brembo, I think they're Stylema M4 calipers on the front, and we've got a single Brembo on the rear. Again, you're not going to want for more power on the brakes. They're really, really direct. There's not massive amounts of feel. As soon as you start pulling the lever, the bike is going to start pulling. It's going to start slowing down very, very quickly. And you give it another hard pull, and you're going to have to start gripping onto the tank, because otherwise you're going to be going that way, and the bike's going to be staying where it is. You can trail brake because of the cornering ABS. It's really, really confidence inspiring. You can trail brake right into the heart of the corner, carrying quite a lot of speed, even on the most shit-strewn roads that are in the Chiltern Hills, as I found out earlier when a farmer pulled out of his field with a trailer full of cow dung. But still, you can trail brake right up into the apex of the corner with complete confidence. The whole system, the whole braking system paired to the electronic system, it's cleverer than me in a lot of ways, and it's good in a way, but it's also a little bit scary. It is a super bike, so the only things that it's got on it are the things that are going to make you go faster, effectively. I talked about the suspension earlier, and that you can go in and you can change all of the suspension settings, so I'm not going to go over that again. But you've also got 3 riding modes. So you've got Street, which is supposedly the tamest. You've got Sport, which is, for me, the best. It's the best mix of everything. You've still got all the acceleration and the full power engine. Wheelie control is a little bit higher than Street, and the ABS is turned up to both wheels, or you've got race mode. And when you put it in race mode, you get in the zone, you think, oh yeah, this is great. And then you actually think about how you're riding the bike, and it's not nice at all. The throttle's like an on-off switch. That first initial part of the throttle, when you open it, just that 1 degree, it comes in like a sledgehammer and whacks you up the arse. It just wants to take off constantly. And it's the same with the quick shifter. The up and down quick shifter is tuned to race mode, so it's really fearsome. There's no smoothing of the revs in between the gears, and the blips on the downshifts are really quite small. If you're on track all day, race mode would be an absolute hoot. You'd have the Ducati slide control letting you hang the back end out. But on the road, sport mode is where it's at. It's so smooth and it's so compliant, and you get none of that jerkiness on the throttle, and it's just, in that mode, it's a pleasure to ride. So onto what we like. Lots. Everything, basically, apart from the fact that if I had one, I would lose my license. No, seriously, the foot to seat ratio is awesome. I'm a short ass, but for me, it's pretty much spot on. It's better than any other superbike I've ridden, and that includes the Honda Fireblade. The upper body ergonomics, seat to bars, is typically Ducati. The clip-ons are quite low, so it's quite wristy. It's all right when you're going flat out down a country lane or a B road and you're hammering along and you're in the position. That's fine. It's when you're riding through town and you're pootling through town, it gets a little bit wristy, because you kind of just sat up all the time negotiating traffic. The other thing that I find, and I found this with the 959 Corsa as well, is because there's no real frame to speak of. You've literally got the engine, the swing arm bolted onto the engine, and you've got Ducati's front frame, which is effectively a massive glorified headstock. There's no heat sink, so when this thing gets hot, it basically just cooks you from the arse up. And there's no, on a normal bike like a Fireblade or a Kawasaki, you've got a massive lump of aluminium cage surrounding the engine, and the heat can creep off into that and then radiate out off into the environment as the air passes over it. In this, the only thing that's getting cooked is your bollocks. So, what do I really like about this bike? I love the engine. I love the engine note. It's addictive and infectious, and you go off down the road and it sounds like a giant's got big sheets of steel and he's just ripping them apart. It's incredibly good when you're sat on the bike. And then my friend Harry Mackenzie went off down the road on it earlier on when we were doing some filming, and it sounds even better when you're not on it. It's just an absolute beast. It's pure MotoGP soundtrack, and that's even on standard exhaust system. So spend £1.5 grand and stick a Termagony sound on that and you'll be waking up the dead. I also love the styling. I am a bit of a Ducati fan. I've got an old Ducati, classic Ducati 600 Supersport. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for them, so it's no surprise that I think the styling is brilliant. And I also love the theatre of it, because you get on this thing, you ride it. It's not like riding anything else. There's theatre to it and there's magic to it, and it pops and it bangs, it rattles, and it's got that V-twin character even though it's a V4, the dry clutch rattle. It's proper. It's a Ducati. I think it's ace. So, the verdict. Would I buy one with my own £23,000? Well, no, because A, my missus would leave me and I'd be back living at my parents'. If I had £23,000, would I buy one of these bikes? That's going to depend. If I wanted a bike that I was going to ride every day when it wasn't pissing it down with rain, to work and to track days and go on holiday on and maybe ride to a couple of MotoGP or BSB events, I don't know if I could have it, because it's just a little bit too impractical and slightly too uncomfortable on the upper body. If I already had a bike that I could do all of those things on and I just wanted something to go for a weekend blast or ride to a track day, then yeah, absolutely, there would be a space in my garage made for this. I would sell my car, firstborn, or both of my kidneys in order to get it there. It's a phenomenal bit of kit. I think I'm in love. Thank you, Ducati, for lending it to me. Please don't ask for it back. And thank you to RAF Benson for sorting out a hovering Spitfire for us, because that's cool.